Parkinson is not a joke. Parkinson is one of the most horrible. I sort of present in a light-hearted manner, but it's one of the most horrible diseases ever. It rings you very slowly. Somewhere else, I defined it as acceleration of mortality through deacceleration of movement. So what it allows you to do in a very weird way is to engage with mortality on a minute-to-minute, second-to-second basis. You find your body not doing things it wants to. You find your body not reacting the way, very slowly, very significantly, but very slowly. I'll give you an example of what happens and how much it is all about in a certain sense. You showed them the picture of thousands of them helpless, starving children, but they were walking away to Gujarat, to here, there, wherever, in big hosts. You remember the visual? You all said, how terrible, how terrible, how terrible. When I saw the visual, what I thought? The Jagjit Singh song rang in my head immediately. So, Bachpan Mein De Do, I sang the song in my head. Don't tell anybody, this is very politically incorrect. The song that rang in my head was, ये डिग्री भी ले लो, ये टीचिंग भी ले लो, ये किताबें भी ले लो, ये घर भी ले लो, ये खाना भी ले लो. Give me that walk. Any day I would exchange my situation even with that migrant who was walking down with no food, no thing, because I want that walk. The arms swinging, the legs straight, the belly straight. There's nothing bigger and better than that in the world. See, my engagement with Parkinson has made me engage in mortality in a big way. And when I'm thinking of mortality, of course you're thinking of God as well. Because mortality means thinking about God, where is it coming from, where are you going, where have you come from, what is all this all about, and so on and so forth. Very soon I began to realize that the theologians, the philosophers, the religious guys have got no idea what God is all about. The only guys who have got a real idea of what God is about are the poets. So I said I will look for God in language. And I will look for God very systematically, very carefully, and I'll use grammar to look for God. Because when you think about language, how else can you think about except grammar? I've been telling you again and again, whenever you want to think about language, go grammar, you will think about the language in a big way. So, okay, I kind of worked it out that I want my God to be benevolent, kind, loving, affectionate, and so on and so forth. So he'll be in situations where there's loving affection and love and affection in language. And this God is a hidden guy. He doesn't come out openly at all. He hides behind things and he gets other things to embody him. So where does in language this embodiment substitution happen the most? Nouns are naming things. Verbs are action. Pronouns are always embodying. So pronouns are which embody things. So what I did was I took to playing songs which I liked, which had to do with love and affection and so on, which were positive songs. And whenever there was a pronoun, I would get in the human condition and the divine situation together in that interplay. And very soon I was being transported into a world where God and human beings, including me, are fooling around with each other, playing around with each other, dancing with each other, laughing with each other, celebrating each other, interacting with each other on a very day-to-day normal basis. And once that began to happen, I was very charged and I was very excited and I was almost in a different world from the corona world and so on. And like I read out the passage, look at the line that I read out for you. But new ideas can finally break out into full adventure, into the open, unfinished, dreaming world, with the tremendous power of human voice to name God and not to rest until the innermost shadows are expelled. To name God and not to rest until the innermost shadows are expelled. That is the agenda. Let me give you an example of how this pronouncing works and then we'll carry on talking about it in a different way. Let's play a song in the karma. Let's do a song where we'll replace the song. One of my favorite songs. How many of you have been watching the sunset? When we sit with the sunset, something happens, huh? Let's see what happens. Let's play the song and let's see what happens. I'll have the words for you then.
So could you just tell me the name of the song again?
कहीं दूर जब दिन ढल जाए, चांद सी दुल्हन बदन छुराए, चुपके से आए, कोई नयानों के आंगन में, कोई सपनों के दीप जलाए. Look at that कोई. कोई is the pronoun. कोई सपनों के दीप जलाए, कहीं दूर तक दिन ढलाए, सांझ की दुल्हन बुलाए. Now look at this. Look how much happens when you change the pronouns to this. Let's go up. कभी यूं ही जब हुई बोझल सांसन, घर आई बैठे बैठे जब हुई आंखें. Now we are in the world of the virus. We are feeling depressed, we are feeling sad, we are feeling unhappy. तभी मचल के प्यार से चल के, छुए कोई मुझको पर नजर ना आए, कहीं दूर तक छुए कोई मुझको, तभी यूं ही कोई. Again you have the pronoun coming in. And look at the way the gentleman who comes and touches you, how does he operate? Next stanza. कहीं तो दिल कभी मिल नहीं पाते, कहीं से निकल आए जन्मों के नाते. The randomness of life, people connecting with each other, feeling sad and so on. घनी उलझन बैरी अपना मन अपना ही होके दर पर है. This is a lovely line. We are all, the human identity is human identity only to the extent that it can take on and suffer the pains of others, the joys of others and so on. We are the only ones who have this capacity. And all of literature is based on this. Our ability to empathize. You read about Desdemona, you read about any of the characters, those are just pages on the black marks on the page. You feel for them. And this human capacity is the most miraculous thing in the world. People worry about identity. What is our identity? Our identity is infinitely extendable. That is God's greatest gift to us. So this poet celebrates that. Now look at what is happening. When you are suffering the pain of others, and when you suffer the pain of others, that's when God comes and touches you. Let's go to the next one. Look at this one. Dil jaane mere. This is very important for literature students. दिल जाने मेरे सारे भेद ये गहरे, खो गए कैसे मेरे सपने सुनहरे. दिल जाने मेरे सारे भेद ये गहरे, खो गए कैसे मेरे सपने सुनहरे. ये मेरे सपने यही तो हैं अपने, मुझसे जुदा ना होंगे इनके साए कहीं दूर जब दिन मिल जाए. Look at all the theologians, the Shankaracharyas, the Advaitas, the Shin mystics, all of them really go around saying that the world is an ugly place, you suffer, you do this, you do that, and the best thing to do is to get moksha, get nirvana, and not come back to the planet. But hell, I want to come back, yeah? I like the world, love the world. I don't want to be put somewhere where I can't access the trees, I can't watch the people, I can't have my students talking to me and yelling and laughing and yawning and looking at mobiles and whatever. Suffering is the part of the challenge, and look at the gift that the suffering gives you. When you respond to suffering with empathy, you have कोई चुपके से आके तुम्हें आके सांत्वना देता है, तुम्हें आके छू जाता है. And this whole thing, see, this is where I find the poet's God different from the theologian's God and the administrator's God and the religious God. The poet will always celebrate the world. He will see the God woven into the world. And once you do that, you will fight with all the energy possible to create a beautiful world and to preserve a beautiful world, and you will take the joy of that world with you when you die, and that is the return gift which I was talking about in my video. Ultimately, when you die, you go above. What will you give offer to the guy who created you and who sent you all over the place? What is your return gift to him or her? There's no gender in that that you have had. Now, if you go up there and the guy looks at you and you say, "Oh, I was miserable, I was sad, I was suffering, I was this, I was that," blah, 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 blah. My discussion, my issues with mortality have led me to these kind of realizations, and I'm sharing with you this pronoun technique. Try it out for yourself, and it works beautifully. It allows you to get God into your language, into your day-to-day intentionalities, into your day-to-day experience in a way that nothing else does. See, And without this presence of God, life is very boring. One, energies don't get generated. You get trapped into all kinds of horrors inside your head and outside your head. So let's get rid of the gods of the bloody theologians and religious guys. Let's celebrate our God of the language, God of the poets, and then see what happens. Okay, I'm giving you one or two other songs and see how it works, the pronoun. जब कोई बात बिगड़ जाए, जब कोई मुश्किल पड़ जाए, तुम pronoun, तुम मुझे साथ मेरा हमनवाज. Look at this one. बार बार देखो, हजार बार देखो कि देखने की चीजें है हमारी दिलरुबा. God is हमारी दिलरुबा. हमारी दिलरुबा कौन काली हो. You can have him, you can interact with him in infinite number of modes, infinite number of ways, and all part of your day-to-day life. Look at this one. एक प्यार का नगमा है, मौजों की रवानी है, जिंदगी और कुछ भी नहीं, तेरी मेरी प्रोनाउंस कहानी.
एक प्यार का नगमा है, मौजों की रवानी है, जिंदगी और कुछ भी नहीं, तेरी मेरी कहानी है. एक प्यार का नगमा है, कुछ पाकर खोना है, कुछ को कर पाया है. जीवन का मतलब तो आकर चले जाना है. दो पल के जीवन से एक उम्र चुरानी है. जिंदगी और कुछ भी नहीं, तेरी मेरी कहानी है. एक प्यार का नगमा है. But that's it. I think it's enough.
Wow, well done. What about the next stanza? Next stanza is very good.
Okay. तो धार नदिया की मैं तुम प्यारा हूँ, तू मेरा सहारा है, मैं तेरा सहारा हूँ. आँखों में समंदर है, आशाओं का पानी है, जिंदगी और कुछ भी नहीं, तेरी मेरी कहानी है. एक प्यार का नगमा है. So is that enough?
Yeah, that's enough. So if you change the pronouns and make it refer to the other reality, the guy who created the entire galaxies and so on and so forth, and he's singing around with you, Teri Meri Kahani hai, he's part of you, he's part of your emotions and so on, life becomes a different ballgame. And very, very weird things happen. For example, I was telling the other guys also, when I tried this song, I'm just going to share the song with you. All of you got the idea?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Reactions, comments, thoughts?
Yes, sir.
Sir, you were trying to develop thoughts of romanticism, I thought.
See, I am trying to work out a practice in my day-to-day life, which is not in the mode of the ascetics and the mode of the religious guys, which allows me to experience the transcendental realities, the transcendental excitement, which is beyond the world, as it were, and yet part of the world.
Okay.
Now, what options do I have if I want to go to the world of God? I have to go to the church, I have to listen to some idiotic priest, or I have to chant some mantras, or I have to sit in palti and do pranayam, go to the Himalayas and do bhajan. I don't know, all kinds of horrible things.
Okay.
I want to enjoy my life.
All the questions.
And I want to see God enjoying me. So I am using a simple technique, reversing God's gain. God hides. So in language, pronoun replaces. So I'll replace the pronoun with you here.
Okay, so you're doing something similar to Sufism, but Sufism involves music, and you're doing it the same thing with language.
I'm also giving music. Music is very important. But yeah, language and all that. Music helps a lot. See, Sufism has got a slightly different touch to it. Sufism is abandoned bhakti. Bhakti where you are God as it enters you in grace and you are taken to the next level altogether. Here I am a bit helpless. I don't have that kind of talent for bhakti. I like my badminton. I like to go to my class. I like daily life. I can't just abandon myself to this huge sort of surrender to the God and feel completely submerged by God and all that. See, I want God on my terms.
Okay. That's quite selfish.
What is my idea of moksha? What is your idea of moksha? Okay, tell me what is your idea of moksha.
Yeah, got it, sir.
Tell me what is your idea of moksha.
So my idea of moksha is being totally involved in myself. I'm in conversation with myself. I am totally involved in a space where I'll go like totally transcendent. That is what actually moksha is. But yes, it's being involved with myself.
This is my idea of moksha. Again, coming from language, coming from poetry and so on, and so wonderfully appropriate. See, moksha basically says, accepts the idea of karma and causality and action having consequences, and so you're born again and again, and you have to burn out your karma, and once you're burned out of your karma, you are out of this vicious circle of birth and life, and I don't know how they say it's vicious and bad and all that, but let's for a minute assume that that's the highest goal in life, that you should be born again and again, that you should be at one with God. Now, if I want to be at one with God, how do I work on that? Do I sort of melt into Him? Do I become like Him? I have no such hope or scope to become like Him. What I want is, if moksha is liberation from the cycle of birth and death, then God inviting me for sitting down and having a beer with Him and saying, come, let's stay back, I want to chat to your interesting company. And we talk about what you've done and what I have done, and we'll sit and chat and yak, and you tell me some jokes and I'll take you some jokes, and because you're such good company, I'm holding you back.
God is somewhat your bro.
That's how I would define moksha. That's why I idea of moksha.
Okay, sir. It's a cool concept.
Yeah, but I don't know why people want to break away from this so-called vicious circle, because if you don't live a life, then everything else is dull. What will you do up there? You'll be technically living there also, if you look deeper into that.
I don't know. I'm not saying maybe it's very good, maybe it's very wonderful. Let's not decide what is what. Maybe there's other things planned. See, God's intentionalities are very mysterious. Look at the scale at which He's created. Do we have the scope or even the iota of a sense of how to handle that kind of thing? The guy has planned from that micro atom to that major galaxy, and it's all interconnected, it's all linked, it's all happening. Where are we in this scale? I don't want to second guess God, but I know what I am all about.
Okay.
And if I am interesting enough, then maybe God will say, okay, fine, stay back here. I want your company. I don't mind if God hangs around with me and chats, and we have a chat and we have a couple of drinks once in a while when he's free. And then I don't mind staying back there. So listen, now let me sum it up. You guys are students of literature. You guys are going to read the poets for the next 10-15 years, and you guys in the next 10-15 years, the world is going to be remade. Let's be very clear on this. The economic system has collapsed. All the systems have collapsed. Nothing is there. So who's doing the remaking? Who will have the maximum chance of reawakening the world? Remember Yeats' line, the best lack all conviction while the worst are full of passionate intensity. Those guys who want power, those guys who want to control things, they will be out in the front taking the lead and shaping things as they go along. And you guys will have to be more vigilant, more careful, and you guys have to charge yourself with the energies from the gods that you have and take them on in all kinds of ways. I'll give you a classic example. Ugandan president talking about coronavirus. And everybody is saying, what a wonderful speech. Look at it from the language point of view. He is using the idea of war. He is using the experience of war, which is designed to kill people. And Africa has had the maximum experience. So he's tapping upon all those fears. How do you argue about compassion? How do you present in this new world that we are talking about? But one thing that should not be there, if you have read Homer and if you have read Mahabharata carefully as students of literature, you fight for it, no wars. See, I have been thinking very carefully about what as a teacher of literature I am supposed to do in the new world. What as a student of literature are you supposed to do? What is the chief resource? What is the chief strength that you have in the new world? And my answer is very simple. Literature functions on the basis of empathy. It is because we have the ability with others. It is because we have the ability to take other people's identities, other people's suffering, other people's joys, that we are able to enjoy literature. And once we have enjoyed literature, we know what empathy and sympathy is all about. And we have to make that as the operational principle in the world. And the empathy and sympathy has to work at a level of your day-to-day breath. Breath is expressed in language. So you guys have to take on the charge of this as you go along and don't underestimate yourself. Be ready for a major role to play in the outer world as it unfolds and take it on. And meanwhile, put on the music and dance. And when you study literature, remember you are studying the art of rereading, not reading. The literature student rereads. The literature student applies himself or herself to the book again out of his or her free will to dig out the things that he or she needs to make the world a better place. Let's have a quick review of the whole session. One comment, one question, one whatever by each one of you, like we normally do in class.
So in the end, the president of Prime, his speech, it spoke about the war. Actually, it asks us a question: are we actually on a war? What's the difference between war and the coronavirus? And aren't we actually reinforcing our that war should be there? People argue that wars shouldn't exist, but aren't we reinforcing their idea by comparing coronavirus to a war?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. As language, people, we can see this and sense it, but most people won't. And you reinforce the idea of war in terms of language. You will create it. Bloody hell, you will live it. You will have the war soon afterwards. Yeah. I have no doubts about it. By the time this finishes, people will be fighting each other because resources will be less and they'll be out for winning the domination, who will win what and all that, and there'll be chaos of a different kind. That's what I sense is likely to happen. Anyway, next comment.
The session was interesting, but I thought it to be an academic session, but it turned out to be a cheerful session, so it was good.
Listen. Don't expect academics from me in this time, and I'm only going to talk about. I'm not talking about core syllabus. The government has declared me high priority risk. That means I should be dead in the next few months. I'm not talking about very strict all that nonsense. I'm talking about.
Yes.
This quarantine period, I was much of wasting my time watching series and everything, but now I can figure out my dream and work for it.
Good.
Yeah, it was actually Renaissance in its own way, this period.
Okay, Sahaj, you give us a song and we'll call it a day.
Yeah.
Let's focus on the pronouns. How when Sahaj sings?
मेरे महबूब कयामत होगी आज रुस्वा तेरी गलियों में मोहब्बत होगी.
Sahaj, just stop for a minute. Just a minute.
Yes, sir.
Just see what happens when you're singing the song, how I react. This is the song, this is the mood that I am in. I'm a bit angry with God. What the hell have you up to, you idiot? You are pretty creating chaos all over the place, and you think I'm going to love you and I'm not going to hang around dealing with your whims and fancies. Now I'm in that kind of a mood when this song is going on. And that's the kind of interaction I'm going to have with this girl. Mere Mehboob, now go sing the song and see what happens. Start again.
मेरे महबूब कयामत होगी आज रुसवा तेरी गलियों में मोहब्बत होगी मेरी नजरें तो गिरा करती है तेरे दिल को भी सनम तुझसे शिकायत होगी
See how the pronouns work. See how the pronouns work. तेरे दिल को
Yes, sir. मेरे सनम के दर से अगर बाद सा हो तेरा गुजर कहरा सितमगर कुछ है खबर तेरा नाम लिया जब तक भी जिया ए शमा तेरा परवाना जिसे अब तक तुझे नफरत होगी आज रुसवा तेरी गलियों में मोहब्बत होगी मेरे महबूब कयामत होगी आज रुसवा तेरी गलियों में मोहब्बत होगी. So that's it, sir.
The pronouns work wonderfully in this song. You get into a different mood, a different kind of understanding of God, and the songs allow you to switch from one mood to the other very quickly if you want to play. What I do is I just put on sometimes on the YouTube different songs and just let them happen, especially late at night when I'm about to sleep or early in the morning. Okay, shall we call it a day now? I have enough for today. I want sessions of this kind, of a different kind of thing, and I can think of 100 things to talk about.